Really?
Please state your name for us.
My name is Lee Harry.
So tell me, how do you feel about turning 60?
Well, I don't feel 60. I feel considerably younger physically. I feel that there are 60 years of experience that I've had, but I don't feel like I wear those years as, I don't know, visibly as a lot of people do who I feel look their age. I think I've got a few more years until I, catch up with the aging on my body, but I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good for 60.
When you hear the word old, what do you think?
Other people. Other people are old. I think of my parents being older, but even my father, during his life, I never thought of him as old, and he passed when he was 82. I thought he was still a young man. So 60, when I think back to my grandparents, they were old. I have an uncle who's 95. He's old. But I don't know where that delineation is. Maybe it's 70 in my mind, or 75, but it certainly isn't 60.
Okay.
Wait.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah.
I forgot to... Don't worry, we'll get you crying and sweating.
Well,
Crying and sweating.
I didn't sign up for crying.
I'm probably going to be the one that's crying.
You're usually the
I
one
usually
that's
do.
crying.
I usually am. I usually go, oh, wait, stop. Wait, no, this isn't right. I need to... How can I do this? What kinds of things are important to you these days?
What is important to me? Identity is important to me. Since I've stopped working full time at, the career I had for so many years, I don't see people anymore. I'm not interacting socially nearly as much as I used to, so I feel I've lost contact with people, and subsequently, you start to wonder about your identity. When you were around people, when I was a film editor, that's what I was. That's what people knew me as. And now that I'm not doing that every day, not that I'm not surrounded by people who know that that's what I do. Is that what I do? What do I do? I'm retired. And does that mean that I'm not that thing anymore? And I think that's why I keep wanting to, reassert my identity. I'm going to be, whether it's a new identity or not, I'm going to be a filmmaker now. I'm going to be relevant. I think maybe relevancy is the word I'm searching for.
Do you have to figure out who you are again?
I think so, because because I'm not that person anymore. I'm not the film editor or the business owner or the boss anymore. I'm the guy who's at home. And I think if anything, I've had to figure out how to have a relationship with my wife again, which was for so many years the woman I saw in the morning and the evening when I came home, and I was out in the world the rest of the day, and same with her life. And I have to, it's a constant search to see who I am every day.
Can we use the word reinvention for that? Reinventing yourself, retooling?
I think so. Reinvention is a good word. Although I'm still, like I said, I don't feel old. So, what does reinvention mean? I think it's more of a social thing. I'm reinventing myself socially because I'm not in the same social situations as I was. I'm still a filmmaker. I was a filmmaker then, I'm a filmmaker now. I think I have to put that out there a little more, and because I'm not in an office where people can walk in and say, oh, this is what you do. I don't do that anymore. Now I'm doing this. I'm a filmmaker. So, hey, I'm a filmmaker. Hey, I'm a filmmaker. So I think you do keep having to, reassert your identity when you leave a long time job or turn a corner like this, an age corner like this.
Yes, one of my questions is, what do you think of the word retirement? So you have retired, so your relationships have changed, and you have to kind of reassess where you are. So what do you think of the word retirement?
Well, I think it has a much different connotation these days than it did when my father retired, for example. When he did, then that was the era of, you're retired, you're going to go play golf, you're going to travel more, you're going to stop working, other than in the garden or something. And I don't have any plans to stop working. And I think if the times when I sat down and talked about it during recent projects, saying, God, I'm just tired of beating my head against the wall. Well, as opposed to what? As opposed to sitting and playing video games all day, or watching TV all day, or playing golf. There's time, to do those things, and I want to do those things, but I've retired from my company. That's what I retired from. I didn't retire from life.
Right, and that seems to be a common theme with many people I've talked with, that our boomer generation seems to be more active and doing more things. They feel there's a lot more to life and a lot more opportunities to keep doing stuff, keep active.
Absolutely. Well, just technology-wise, there's so much to catch up on or to keep up with. Things that our kids are, it comes to them naturally and they take for granted. That takes a lot of work, I find, for someone my age to keep up with the technology. And I think that's part of being relevant as well. Mm-hmm. And feeling like you can contribute something, by being able to talk about, technology and what's going on. And even more so by being able to use the technology to prove that you're still relevant in the world.
So you feel like with the technology that do you feel the need to keep up with it, or the desire?
Both. I'm a techno guy. I've always loved gadgets and things, and now, is the era of gadgets. And I think we're moving out of the era of gadgets into a more practical use for this gadgetry. Cloud, and how small memory's gotten and things like that, and how can technology be put to use to help mankind. But I do feel like I need to stay up on that, if only to keep up in conversations at parties.
I agree. I feel like I would have to spend days learning some new thing just to, like I say, be able to talk about it and keep up with the conversation.
Yeah.
What's your favorite piece of technology right now? Do you have a favorite thing right now?
Oh, just the computer. Desktop computer is the most amazing thing. I think on this last project I worked on out of the house, I was able to teach myself how to do things, post-production wise, photography wise, by just going onto the internet and asking, how do I do this? How do I, replace a sky in a shot that I need some clouds in that sky, where here's what you do. Here's how you draw the map. Here's how you, composite the clouds in there. I mean, it's all there on the internet, and it's, there's not just one place where it's written. There's a dozen places where it's written, from, an expert writing it to a guy, a YouTuber writing it. So there's all levels of the conversation that you can get involved in.
Pause it just for a second.
Sure.
Sorry, I hate to ruin the rolling.
Some people have said that reaching this milestone is kind of a wake-up call to do more, to live more. Some people even use that bucket list term. What are your thoughts on that?
I can't say that I have a long list of things that I feel I have to get accomplished before, as I age, other than continuing, to follow my filmmaker dreams. I don't know. I don't have a bucket list. If anything, it just makes me think, starting to run out of time. I think, I don't remember who said it, but someone said once you turn 60, you have 20 summers left, and make the most of that. I don't remember who said that, but it seems like an apt, if somewhat depressing thought.
So would you consider that? So then, would you consider 60 a wake up call to kind of live more and do more? And
Perhaps, I guess, in that there's ageism out there in our business, and geez, I'm 60. Do I look 60? Because if you look 60, no one's going to give you any work. But if you don't look 60, then I may have a chance to keep working out there. It's kind of like when you get to this age, I feel in this business, you're better off doing your business over the phone, because as soon as you walk into one of these younger executives' office, they look at you and they go, oh, I see, okay, get me that younger guy on the phone. You just, you wonder about that. So I just wonder, 60 makes me think, how many more presentable years do I have? If I'm editing back in my little room, that's one thing, but if I'm out in the world and people tend to judge you by your appearance, that's another issue right there.
yeah, and I think, and maybe tell me how you think about this, like women, whether in this industry or not, as we get older, we get our facelifts, and do you think women fear it more as far as their looks, or men approaching getting older?
I guess it depends on what their careers are. If they, if your looks are important in your career, and if your ego demands that you look young all the time, I guess I've done Botox before, but I did it 10 years ago when I thought I was starting to look older, and then after a while it just became, what am I, who am I kidding? Why? Who am I doing this for other than myself?
Yeah. Do you feel too old to do anything? Like, I'm too old to do this, too old to do that?
I'm too old to help people move.
I agree.
Everything else, I think, is up for grabs. I'm maybe too old to play football, but not touch football. I just got a RC drone copter to fly, so I'm not too old to do that. I'm not too old to listen to music or go to movies or concerts or things. That I'll never be too old for that. I'm probably too old to go to a nightclub. I
Think so?
I think so. We go to some events and concerts too, and we look around and say, yes, we are the oldest people in this room. We know we're the oldest people. We may only hopefully look like we're only 10 or 20 years older, but you feel 30 or 40 years older when you're around young people. And by young, I mean 18 to 20-year-olds. That's when I feel the oldest, I think. But that's what I think I miss the most about working full-time, is because most of the people that I worked with were considerably younger. And I felt knowledgeable, I felt mentor-ish, which made me feel good that, I've learned a lot in my career and I can impart it to people, and some people will listen and some people won't. That's just, in any business. But I miss that. I felt energized by younger people. I liked going out and, having drinks with them or dinner with them and to hear what they were talking about, what in the world mattered to them and affected them. But work was always the number one topic, oddly enough, no matter how old, the people were that I would hang out with. Anyway.
So currently your social network is people of your own age.
Pretty much.
Okay.
And, we have our kids, and we still get along with our kids. We're not too fuddy-duddy for them, and they bring their friends around. And that's fun. That's nice. But some of our younger friends, I would say when we were in our 40s and 50s and they were in their 20s and 30s, now they've had kids. So we're really not part of their social circle anymore because they hang out with the other mommies and daddies. So we don't have as much of a chance to hang out with the younger folks.
I think it's important to have a diverse group of friends, of all ages, but I also find that hanging out with younger people, I just don't have as much in common with them anymore.
That's true.
So I don't feel the giant urge to seek that out.
Yeah, I think maybe that may depend on, what business you're in too, because I found that in our business, that's all you talked about was work. And so no matter how old you were, old and young, that's all we were talking about. The crazy weekend we just had, or the all-nighter we just did, or this client that we don't get along with who doesn't understand what we're trying to do. There was always a common denominator, and not so much now. And if anything, when we invite some of my former colleagues over, the younger kids, that's still all they talk about is work. And I'm feeling a little left out because, I don't know that client. Oh, that's a new client, or that's a new job, and I haven't been involved with that. So I find I don't have as much to talk about with them.
Does that make you feel old?
Not old, as much as just not in the loop, which I think are two different things.
What does the word success mean to you?
Success means having made a mark, having made an impression on the world at large with your work. I think whether you've made money at it or not, I think you can be successful and broke. I think it's probably nicer the other way around, but I guess success also means a comfort level. You feel comfortable with your life, not that it's over, not that you have nothing else to accomplish, but that you have accomplished things. Success is accomplishment.
Are you living your authentic life?
Yes, I'm living an authentic life. I think, if anything, I'm living it away from my family who are back east, and my wife as well from back east, and we moved across country, and we had no family out here. And any friends we had, were friends that we had in college who had also moved out here, and friends that we've met along the way, but we've never had a family buffer or family cushion to fall back on. Which by that I mean, it may not be possible to live an authentic life without your family in some way involved with you. Some people might disagree. I've missed my family, but at the same time, there's a reason that you move 3,000 miles away. And I think it was because that's where the work was, and it was also a challenge. and it was, make or break on your own. I had so many cousins who stayed back home close to family, and they've all been through a lot of marriages and things where I think it was easier to go home, to run home maybe, than it was to deal with it. And we had no choice but to deal with things. And that's certainly not to, pass judgment on anyone who's, had marital problems. But it just was, when there's no cushion, you have to deal with it yourself. And I think it made us stronger.
What brings you joy?
A good meal brings me joy. What brings me joy? I don't know. I don't know that I've never been a really joyful person. There always seems to be something else to do. Okay, well, I'll be joyful as soon as I do this. And then I would do that, and, well, I can be joyful now. Oh, well, there's a few other things I'd like to... And I'm not talking bucket list things. I'm talking just in whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm doing. If I'm puttering around the house, ooh, that's done. Oh, geez, I've got to get to that. There's always something to do. So I think I keep myself from feeling joy. I don't know why. I should feel it now, because there's always going to be something else to do. But I used to feel joy when we'd go on trips, tropical vacations, and I would work so hard, and then we'd go on vacation and I would just do absolutely nothing. I didn't want to hike. I didn't want to sightsee. I would want to sit and stare at the ocean or a palm tree. And that would be joyful, joy-esque. But joy, I don't know if I was ever meant to be joyful. Happy is not the same as joyful, though.
It's not?
To me, no. Happy is quick. It's transient. It's just, you're briefly happy. But joyful, that term connotates, a long-running satisfaction, which I don't think I've ever had.
Okay, then what makes you happy?
What makes me happy? I think being able to do things, being surrounded by my stuff, for lack of a better term, my computer, my guitar, keyboard, that it's there. I'm not always on it, but it's there, and knowing that it's there makes me happy.
When you're filmmaking, does that make you happy, or does that bring you joy?
That makes me happy. Showing it to people, getting reaction out of people, that's probably as close to joy as I can get, because I don't know, even when you show it to people, they're just reacting to what they see. They don't know what's gone into the process and how you've, beaten your head against the wall, or, had to ask favors and, go broke, and, just what the process entails. But hearing people react to your work in a positive way, that's about as close as I can get to happiness, I think. My family makes me happy. I don't want to, forget my family. I love my wife. She makes me happy. We make each other happy. We laugh. We've always laughed a lot. I don't know, we laugh as much with me being around the house all the time. She doesn't laugh as much. I'm having a great time.
Yeah, so because of your current retirement situation, yeah, your relationships have changed. So with your wife, that is, I'm sure, definitely, as you just said, changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. How has your philosophy of life changed over the years?
Again, I don't think I've ever been much on self-reflection and setting those goals, having a philosophy in life. I mean, I try to be a good person. I'm not always successful at that. I've said and done stupid, hurtful things, and I've apologized to those, people I've affected when I could. But I've never had that a philosophy really that, I'm going to act this certain way and I'm never going to do these certain things. I mean, you try to, but life just throws so many curves and you have to think on your feet a lot. And, I'm an editor, so I'm always trying to fix things and restructure things. I think because I do it so badly the first time around.
I had to restart. Good.
Do you think the purpose, if you have a purpose of life, has that purpose changed as you got older? I don't like the way I said that.
I know what you mean.
Okay.
I think my purpose for a long time was to support my family, and I think I came out here to do a certain thing, to try to find a certain kind of job, and I got close to that, but then I really did have a hard choice to make if I wanted to pursue, that direction and make no money or struggle or take a job and be able to support my family, and not worry about it. And I went that way because there just was no choice. I think it takes a certain type of person to be a starving artist, and as much as I romantically saw myself as that person, the reality was, what, Lee, you like a nice meal, you like a nice car, you like to keep your family in clothes and pay the rent. I had to make a living. So, I think that's that's part of the philosophy of life. I thought I was going to go down this path, but then you had to change. You have to think on your feet. So if I had a philosophy, I think I gave it up by necessity. And the philosophy turned into survival.
So in saying all that, do you have a purpose in life now? Or
I guess I feel like my purpose now is not to waste the rest of my life, to chase the things I've been unable to chase for the last 30 years because I was busy making a living. And I can chase them now because we have resources. We have some money in the bank, we can retire, and I'm able to not have to have a paying job all the time. And, which is, when you try to be a starving artist, when you try to be any kind of artist, you just can't count on anybody paying you anything.
right. In thinking of the end of your life, how has your perspective of death and or dying changed over the decades?
Excuse me. Sorry. Well, my father never smoked, and he got lung cancer. And by the time they discovered it, it was stage 4. And they gave him 6 months to a year to live, and he lasted 7 months. And they're back in Virginia, so I retired about the same time he got, actually, it was exactly the same time that he got his diagnosis. So I was able to go back and forth and spend more time with him, and my mother took care of him at home. He never went in the hospital. So we all watched that process, and it was heartbreaking, and that scares the shit out of me to think that that could happen. And I mean, I think, how did he go through that? How did he, and we talked, I don't have any regrets about I wish I'd said this or that. We had a good relationship. I never asked him if he was afraid. I just, our family never talked about that kind of stuff. I mean, we were close, and we were emotional, and we said we loved each other, but I think, the thought of knowing that your number's up, everybody's number's up eventually, but getting a date put on it and having to deal with that. And how do you deal with that? It was bad enough us dealing with it. How did he deal with it? And he was a strong man and took care of all of us for so many years, but for him to wake up every day and know that, the calendar's ticking down, and that, it was bad enough. I used to tell people I don't know what I will do when my parents die. And then suddenly it was the case. And it wasn't even just, your father just had a heart attack. It's, your father's going to die in the near future. I don't know how anybody deals with that. It wasn't easy for any of us, and to get that kind of verdict, I don't know what I'd do. I don't know what I'd do. I know people talk about, well, I'm going out on my own terms, and I'm going to take a handful of pills and all that, and that's easy to say when it's not, in the cards, but, or you don't have to make that choice right now, but I don't know. 60, you've got less time left than you've already spent, so I think about it. My mother's in her 80s. Frail health, then good health, then frail health and good health, and I think about those things too. How am I going to be? Is my wife going to have to take care of me like my mother took care of my father? Could I take care of my wife? These are questions you just don't want to ask yourself. Going to have to. I'm going to think about that tomorrow.
But we are at that age where we begin to think about it.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you think you're afraid to die?
Sure. I'm afraid to die. I'm afraid to die before I make a mark. I've cut a lot of trailers and made a couple films, and has that changed anyone's life? I'd like to think I changed someone's life for the better. I don't know, maybe just inherently by being a parent, you do that, hopefully. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to it, but I know it's going to happen. And maybe maybe with each decade, you get a little more accepting towards the prospect. But I wouldn't say I'm any more ready now at 60 than I was at 50 or 40 or 30.
Because I think when we're younger, we're 20 or 30, we don't, that's a long way off.
Long way off. And you're fearless and invulnerable, and you can, drive fast and take drugs and drink too much and do all of these things because that's part of the experience of living. And some people don't make it through that experience. But if you do, that even, I think, makes your idea of invincibility even stronger.
What is the meaning of life? Why are we here?
Why are we here? Well, again, back to trying to leave a mark. Aren't we here to make the world a better place and and by leaving a mark, it's not I was the biggest or the best. It was I pointed something out to people that maybe they hadn't taken the time to notice. I don't know. I made a contribution that will help people in the future. That is, I think, all you can ask of anyone on this planet, is to try to make a difference and try to make the next generation's time here a little better than the previous generation. I don't know, repopulation, duplicate yourself. If I can't be here to see how things turn out, then my kids will be. And if they're going to be here, then we should do everything we can to make sure there is a here for them. But I'm not a particularly Christian person. I don't know what's waiting, what's out there. I think that's the scariest thing to me, to go back to the death thing. Is there a heaven and a hell? And does it just take one slip up to go to head to hell instead of heaven? Was it that one, well-intentioned lie I told that's gonna, keep me screaming for all eternity or something? That would suck.
Sorry. Oh. That was awesome. Sorry. I try not to emote out loud for interviews. That was pretty good. Oh, I had a question in there, but you totally blocked. No, that's a question. Yeah, I'm thinking heaven might be better.
Yeah.
Although a lot of my friends are going to be in hell, so it might be more fun.
Well, that's just it. I think it'll be more fun there, but more partying.
I know. Yeah, like, hi, how you doing? That's why it took me so long to get here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was awesome. And I remember the question, but I don't think it matters right now. In everything we've talked about and questions I've asked you, do you have anything else you'd like to add or care to share about getting older and aging and 60?
That old adage about being as young as you feel, it's really true. I was telling a friend the other day that I had just gone to McDonald's and had a quarter pounder, and I felt awful after I had it. And I'm the king of junk food, have always been a burger and fries guy. And it's kind of depressing that I can't do that anymore. And I waved it off, and then a couple days later I went and had a hot dog, and that was awful. And, I went to Arby's, because, God, I drove past an Arby's, and, I love Arby's, and went in there. Oh, my God, I thought I was going to throw up afterwards. I can't do it anymore. And that's a damn shame.
But you kept trying.
I kept trying.
Oh, so maybe 60 is, we want to think it's just the number, but it's really the physicality of it. You just can't do certain things that you just kind of, you could eat three quarter pounders a week and not think about it.
No, it's true. And even further than that, when you treat yourself well, diet-wise, you feel better. And something my wife's been trying to tell me for years, that I'm saying, you know what, honey? That salad was great. And she's just like, oh. No kidding, genius.
I have one more question, but I just want to ask you if you have any other
I'm
questions
just
for
trying
me.
to not cry back here.
I know, right? I know.
I have things to say, but it'll be off camera.
Oh, sure, yeah, I know, I have a ton of things to say. My final question is, what is the capital of Utah?
What is the capital of Utah? Salt Lake City.
Ding, 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 you win.
Ooh, wow, I didn't know going to be
No, that
geography
was
questions.
that was quick. You got
And that came out of nowhere, and we kept on it all the way through. And sorry, I'm invisible. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I think we're just starting to get emotional answers, and I kind of changed the questions as we went on to a little more hard hitting. So I think emotions now are running deep and running high.
Do most people feel old at 16?
Most people are feeling, this is the best time of my life, this is great, which I find surprising. Doesn't anybody kind of think this is a little daunting? Like I was 40, now I'm 60, where did that time go? It's like, it's on its way to old. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, isn't it? That's that, 60's the new 50 or 40 or something, and yeah,
I don't know.
I think our parents at 60 were a lot older than we are now.
Yeah. I think so too. Why is that?
I don't know. Socially, diet,
Yeah.
the political things. I mean, I think maybe the world was just weighing heavily on them, which is odd because our folks, always had that, work and then retire and have the house and the
Right.
yard and the country club or
Right.
the church and all that, and it seemed like that would have been a lot less pressure. And I always felt the pressure to explain to my parents, no, we're not going to buy a house right away, and no, I'm not going to have a real job right away. I'm on a
Right.
different path.
Right,
And trying to get them to understand what that path was.
right.
And I was lucky, my folks went for it. But I know a lot of parents, friends' parents who didn't. You have to work for the company, and your
Right.
father has a
Right.
place for you, or my father has a place for you. And
Yeah, I still feel that a lot of our generation, the baby boomer generation, still are hanging on to that way of retirement. Like, you work for the company, and I want to retire at this age, and then we'll buy a house in Florida, and then we'll, do the golf thing every day. There might be a small percentage of people still doing that, but I don't know. I think it's so different today because people are more active and going back to school and taking up new skills and whatever. I don't know.
yeah.
And I retired when I was like 48 because we had a company and we sold it. So I've been retired for a long time. So I feel like I'm now trying to play catch up and make a mark, if you will, or some kind of different accomplishment. I don't know. It's a little weird. It's a little backwards somehow.
What'd you do for the 12 years in between now and?
Well, I got divorced, and then so for several years I had to survive and figure out who I was again
Mm.
and what I'm supposed to be doing or what I wanted to do. That was what I was married, and that's what I did, and I ran a business with my husband, which was all lovely things. But then there you are. Now what? So yeah, here I am now, and I'm making a movie.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
That's very cool.
So I'm pretty excited about that.
Good.
Um,
Good luck.
yeah,
Good.
thank you.
All right, yeah, that's